2. Good Tuesday morning, everyone. Welcome to First Thing First. Got a great show for you today. Jenna Wolf, Nick Wright, Chris Broussard, and one very happy man, Kevin Wildes, who, upon hearing this news, has already penciled the baby goat in, probably for the big game, the old Super Bowl. Am I right, Kevin Wildes?
Yeah, sometimes I put glasses on him so he can see the criticism more clearly. It's okay, baby goat. Everyone.
Oh, you don't need glasses to see those.
Oh,
this needs a mirror.
He was working on that one. Here we go. Eastern Conference Finals, Miami in Boston. So the Celtics said they wanted to start better this game, right? Well, that they did. Jumped out to an 18-1 lead. But this series, am I right? It's been all swings. Boston led by as many as 32 thanks to a bounce-back game from Jason Tatum. And just stifling the Heat as their starters, Miami starters combined for 18 points. That is the fewest by a starting five in the postseason since they started tracking that more than 50 years ago. You remember, Broussard, you were there. Let me start with you. Was last night more about elder statesmen? It's what I always hear. I'm riding it out. Was last night more about the Celtics win or the Heat loss?
Well, Jenna, first of all, it's elder statesmen, not ancient statesmen. So elder statesmen. I'm not that old. All right. But this was more about the Celtics win because they had to win. Let's face it. If they lose, this series is all but over. And, yeah, I would have came on here today and put on a brave face and defended them and figured out a way to say they're going to win the next 3 games. But we all know how hard it is to come back from a 3-1 deficit against a well-coached team, a veteran team, and a hungry team, and that's what Miami is. So this was more about the Celtics. On the flip side, Miami losing is kind of par for the course, right? Ho-hum. It's what we've seen in this series. It's what we saw for the most part in Boston, Milwaukee, where the teams alternated wins and losses every other game. And so this was definitely about the Celtics. Now, I do think this, and I said it yesterday, I think that the Celtics are the better team. And I'm not going to jump on the fact that they won in a blowout because they blew out Miami in game 2 by 25 in Miami and then lost game 3 at home. So Miami should feel good about itself. But me as an observer, I do think, Nick, that Boston has established itself as the better team. Now, Wildes will jump on the Miami's only won 3 out of the 16 quarters, I believe. But I'll go here.
True.
Boston has outscored them by 28 points in the series. And while you brought up yesterday Bam Adebayo, you say he's the 3rd best player in the series. That's fair because he's a great defender. But I would say for sure Boston has 2 of the 3 best scorers. And that would be obviously Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, along with Jimmy Butler. So I think I feel good as a guy that picked Boston. I feel good about them. Even though they don't have home court, I think they're now in control of the series. And I'm saying, Nick, I still think they win this thing in 6.
Well, the control of the series thing to me is surprising to hear you say because typically if a series is tied at 2, the home team is the one we all agree is in control of the series, and Boston isn't the home team. I'll tell you what is not concerning and then what is concerning. What's not concerning is that Miami laid an egg. And it's not concerning because if you've watched the Heat this year, even if you just watch them this postseason, about once every 2 weeks they have a game where they look like the worst offense in basketball. They did it against the Sixers when they scored 79. You knew it was coming at some point in this series. In fact, we can play it for you. When I picked the Heat, I did so begrudgingly because this game was inevitable. Go ahead and roll it.
Listen, I'm going to watch this series. There's going to be games in this series, Brew, where the Heat scores 77 points. And I say, how did I pick this team?
Well, that's this morning, Wild. They scored 82. And I'm like, oh, boy, that team really looks like it stinks. But then you remind yourself, they're the 1 seed for a reason. They got this far for a reason. And you don't want to be prisoner of the moment to the most recent result. Now, let me just tell you quickly what I am a little concerned about. Jimmy Butler is a great player. Jimmy Butler's ability to be a great player every other night is concerning. So Jimmy Butler started the playoffs off awesome. Well, he did have a week plus off between the end of the regular season and the start of the playoffs. Jimmy Butler started this series off fantastically. Well, he had an extended break, I think 5 days, because Miami dealt with Philadelphia earlier, while Boston, Milwaukee went 7. And we even saw in the finals run that Jimmy Butler would have great game, mediocre game, great game, mediocre game. That whether it's because how hard he plays on both ends, whatever knee issue he's dealing with, his ability to be excellent every single night, I don't think his body will allow him to do it. He plays so hard, and maybe his body's breaking down just a bit. And so the question is, these last 2 games where Jimmy only played a half in game 3 and then played the entirety of yesterday, but I would imagine didn't have to really exert himself much after midway through the second quarter because the game was so out of hand. Is that a bit of a break for him? Or is he, because if he is not able to give you 30 points on high efficiency, the Heat flatly don't have enough offense. So that's the only concern I have is Jimmy damaged or was he just tired? And if he was just tired, I think we can expect a better Game 5 performance.
Are you worried about the quarters that the Celtics keep winning? Because it seems to me that you're starting to come around to the Celtics. You have a lot of outfits in your house, and you looked through with Danielle, like, how about this one? How about my green tie, green pocket square, and where's my green Sharpie? Oh, here it is. I thought it was a great job. Are you worried about the quarter? Are you starting to come around?
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll get into the quarter stuff throughout the show because it's so dumb. Because yesterday Boston dominated that game, but they only won the quarters 2-1. And you're right, I did choose this suit and tie specifically for today. However, no, one was tied, buddy. One quarter was tied, if I'm not mistaken. I believe it was 2-1 to 1. Again, we've been doing this show together for a couple years. You should probably know that even on the most basic math, you're probably not going to one-up me, my friend. However, you were right on my wardrobe.
Fair point.
I am wearing this outfit intentionally. This is the suit and tie combo I wore to Luka's introductory press conference. It's a big day for him. These are Mavericks colors, not Celtics colors. And so I'm doing it as an inspirational moment for him, just so you know. It's not Celtic green. So no, the quarters thing is meaningless to me. It's utterly meaningless.
It's not meaningless. It's not. Okay. Broussard, you seem to be a little bit more on the fence about the quarters thing. Let me try to convince you because my arguments to Nick are falling on deaf ears. Here's why I think the quarters are important. And the stats are this. The Celtics have won or tied 13 of the 16 quarters of basketball. And why I think it's important is because it's easy to diagnose for the Celtics what went wrong in this series. Why the series is tied 2-2. You can look at the every quarter and be like, right there, we had a lead and we started to turn the ball over, and then we started this game slow. We need to fix those. And they did. They came out of the gate, boom, like a rocket today, so that's fixed, and didn't turn the ball over. So those are fixed. Those were the Celtics' issues. Turnovers and starting game 3 slow. If I asked you, what are the Heat's issues? Can you give me 2? You'd be like, oh, just 2? Well, we got health. We got Bam couldn't get going. Tyler Hero's not there. Rebounding seems to be an issue. Robert Williams is a force. Al Horford's blocking our shots. We can't stop Tatum. There's a lot of different issues. So I think the quarters give you a window into diagnosing how the series has gone. The Celtics have won or tied 13 of them and had 2 bad ones. They lost last quarter. I don't even count the final quarter last game because the guys were out. So that's why I think it's important. I know everyone's like making fun of me. It's actually an easy way to diagnose what's wrong with the series, where they've only lost 2 quarters legitimately in the entire series, not counting the fourth quarter last night.
Well, look, you're not completely off your rocker. All right. I mean, it's support. It's evidence for what I've been saying. Boston's a better team. Okay, but I'm not going to go overboard with it because last night, Miami won the fourth quarter. Did it matter? No. And why did they win the fourth quarter? Because they were getting blown out and their reserves came in. Duncan Robinson is hitting a bunch of threes. My point is when you